And there we are. Right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks very much for coming along to our webinar on the OrCam Learn Access to Work, the OrCam Read 3, and the new Clover Book XL unit. Oh, 1 second. I need to try and make myself look a bit better with some light on there. Feel shiny and hot, but so I hope everyone's having a good summer. As you said, yeah, Daniel's not had a great one the last few days. But thankfully, he's feeling a bit better now. So I know most of you know a bit about VisionAid and us, but I will start with a short bit about VisionAid Technologies. It was started back in 1996 by my late father, John Ellis, passed away 12 years ago now, sadly. We're not a huge company, but there's 24 of us, I think, now, as of when Daniel joined us a few weeks ago. And we will hopefully be going to 25 when we have somebody in the Southwest. So Daniel will help with any demonstrations or training potentially that might be needed to be done in Scotland. And then we're obviously Ben and Jason, who many of you know, and Jonathan as well. They're kind of at capacity, which is a nice problem to have. So we're also looking for somebody down in the Southwest too, and hopefully they'll be joining us in the next few weeks, all being well. But VisionAid's really passionate about trying to help people find the best solution from wherever it might come from. It doesn't matter which manufacturer it is. If they have a good solution and it works well and it's priced sensibly, then we'll look to add it to the range of products that we get in and learn about and know about and can demonstrate and train on and support critically as well. So we're really passionate about that. It's I think we've got there's well over 100 manufacturers that we now work with and over 1,000 different solutions. So it's quite like to hold in your head. I struggle at times, especially when you've got 3 new products to learn as well, which we've been doing. So hopefully I'll do a good enough job of remembering all the features and things for them. As many of you will be assessors, we do have our assessor packs as well. So just wanted to mention that. So many of you have these, I think, but they're completely free. If you'd like one, please just send a message or an email to inquiries@visionaid.co.uk. This will allow you to have a print version of all the most popular solutions in our 36-page, soon to be 40-page catalogue. And on the back, we have our very useful magnification guide. So the single most useful piece of information we can ever get for a low vision user is what text size they need to be able to read. That really helps narrow down the field of different solutions that they might want. And then the other part that's really useful in here is our screen guide. So this is a set of rectangles that signify the different screen sizes of handheld or portable magnifiers from 3.5 inches all the way up to 12. So many users might say, well, I want something nice and small I can fit in my pocket, but I need 8 times magnification to read with. So you take the 4.3-inch size unit out, you put it over the 8 size text, and you can see there they're only going to get 5 or 6 characters on the screen at any one time. So without having to carry a flight case around with all the different handhelds at different screen sizes like all of our people do, you can just do it with a very simple guide like that to get an idea of what screen size the minimum useful size is going to be for the person. Obviously, you have to bear in mind if their eye condition is static or sadly deteriorative as well. In there, we've got large print keyboard guide as well. So this is 1-to-1 sizing on the large print keys and a few other bits as well for the different catalogs. So if anyone's interested in those, please do let us know either by email and then we can get them posted out. I should say as well, for the chat, I think Laura's already done it for me. So please ask questions in there. As you think of the questions, don't save them up and we'll get to them at the end of each product and then hopefully have some time at the end. Although anybody knows me knows that the presentations don't normally go exactly to timing, although I'll do my best to keep it to the time frame on these. So yes, I think without further ado, we'll get on to the first solution, which is the OrCam Learn. So I have here the OrCam Read. So it's on the side here with a lanyard. They all come with lanyards. And in my other hand, I have the OrCam Learn. So they are absolutely identical in terms of the physical hardware on them, but they have different software loaded on them. But for those who don't know the OrCam Read or Learn solutions, they're sort of a highlighter, chunky highlighter pen size device that have tactile markings all the way along the top edge. The buttons are really tactile, so you don't have to look at them at all. You can see them and they're all different shapes You've got the trigger button at the front to take a picture, plus and minus button, which increases or decreases the volume, or it will navigate forwards and backwards a sentence. So if it's not reading, it does the volume, and when it is reading, it navigates forwards and backwards a sentence. And the button at the back is the power button, which also puts the unit to sleep, which you can then wake up sort of instantly from that. There's a USB-C port on the back to fast charge it. You get between 3 and 4 hours of continuous use of reading with the device, but it charges in an hour. So just with a standard 2 amp 5-volt charger, it comes with one, but any smartphone charger, any USB port on a laptop will charge it as well. And you get 4, I just push the button to wake it up, you get 4 LEDs that illuminate on the top to signify the 25% battery marks as well. On the front, you've got the, my webcam will focus on it, you've got the main lens, and then you've got 2 laser pointers as well. One that's an actual mouse pointer type device, and then one that's a rectangle. I'll show you how you can use those to accurately target what you want to be able to read as well. And it's also got a light on the bottom. So if it detects there's not enough light for reading, that light will come on automatically. So even in a dimly lit meeting room or anywhere where the illumination isn't good, it'll just come on like a flash to help it take the picture. So physically exactly the same, but the software features are a little bit different. It is the same software, if anyone's familiar with the OrCam Learn DSA, so the version that OrCam have done for students for university level. They do a version for students in OrCam version 9.2. Sorry, just turning it on. Let's wait for it to finish talking on there.
Supported country and languages are UK,
I'll just stop it talking there. So I'm trying to remember where I was now. It's completely thrown me. Yeah, so the Learn DSA and the Learn Access to Work are the same units. But the nice thing is OrCam have effectively subsidized the pricing of these. So the key difference, an OrCam Read Smart or the MyEye units that we have for low vision users are significantly more expensive. They do have extra features on them, so I'll try and go through some of those as well. But the Learn DSA and the Learn Access to Work are £799 excluding VAT. So less than half of the cost of the low vision specialized version, which hopefully will mean it's more attainable for people with reading challenges in work. Where typical solutions tend to be things like the C Pen, which I've got here, which is good for small bits of spot reading on certain bits of text, but you'll sort of see there are some serious limitations on it. Obviously, the price is significantly less at £230 for one of those, roughly, versus £799 for this. But if you actually need to sit down and read an entire document with a device like that, it's a little bit frustrating. Whereas with this, it's much, much easier, which I'll show on there. So that's the main parts of the unit, other than the fact that it's got a headphone jack. So you can all OrCam Reads come with, and Learns come with headphone jacks. Sorry, I keep calling it OrCam Reads, we're so used to calling it that. So OrCam Learns. So it's got a standard 3.5mm headphone jack. But the key thing is that it also has Bluetooth. So most people now will have a set of Bluetooth earphones or headphones at home, and this will pair to pretty much any Bluetooth headphones that you have. The same with hearing aids as well. So if you have somebody with modern hearing aids, most Bluetooth hearing aids will allow it to pair, certainly ones like the Phonak, the Roger Penn ones. So I'll just bring my list up on here. I think we've got some other, the main brand ones, Audio Marvel and Starkey Edge as well. They definitely will work with it. But it is a standard Bluetooth connectivity standard. So as long as the hearing aids support that, it should work. The same goes for Bluetooth speakers as well. So any Bluetooth audio device it will pair with. As I mentioned, it's got a lanyard as well, so we normally have that attached when somebody's using it. We always recommend to have that on there. I'm not going to have it on for the demonstration just because it sort of gets in the way while I'm moving it around. I'll end up knocking the camera over or something catastrophic will happen. So that's all of those bits. When you get these, you activate them a little bit differently. So the OrCam Reads Smarts for low vision users are already just ready to use. With this, you just need to scan a QR code that comes on the box, and then there is an app that accompanies it on your Android or iPhone smartphone, which you need to go into to activate it. It's very quick. You just have to put your email address in after you've captured the QR code, download the app, And that app then allows you to change some of the settings on the device, which some people may find easier to do with the app rather than just going through the menus. But I may show you that on there. But it is literally just changing reading rate, volume, checking battery percentage and things like that, all of which you can do just on the device anyway. So that's the sort of description bit, and I'll get into the slightly more entertaining bit of actually showing you how it works and what it does. So bear with me a second. So I have with me here something that probably fills most people with horror, which is a British Gas bill statement here for the property we've got next door. When was this? October, £323 just for the gas. Oh, sorry, just for the electricity. This was, the gas was separate, so that was even higher, I think. So fantastic. But you've obviously got a bill on here, and bills and invoices have a huge amount of information on them. For a user with reading challenges, they're obviously generally going to be able to see the text and the area that they want to read very easily. It's just trying to pull the information out, and if there are difficult words or long sentences they might struggle with. So with the first mode on the OrCam Learn, I can turn it on just by waking up by pressing the trigger button, and then
Hi, Ellis.
It knows my name. So because when you pair it to the app, you put your name in, so it says "Hi Ellis" every time I turn this on, which is nice. You know, it's your one, nobody else has stolen it. Then we can, if I push and hold on the trigger button, it will then project a laser onto the page. Hopefully that's coming across okay on there. So with this laser, the closer I hold it to the page, the smaller the area. Now the camera will focus up to about 3 inches or so, so about 10 centimeters distance. And it's a very high resolution camera, so it will read text actually down to about 4-point size when you're very close. But obviously that will just give you that small bit of text that you're looking at. But that may be all you need. So you probably don't want the address on here, but maybe I want the bill date and the account number up here. So I can just put the rectangle over there, release.
Bill date, the 3rd of November 2022, bill number 983635079. This is a VA.
And I'll stop it by pressing the trigger button. So really simple and fast, just to capture that bit of text, and then it reads it back almost instantly. The other critical thing on this is that the OrCam Learn, all of the recognition is done completely offline. So none of this data is sent anywhere else. It's all just on the device, and it's not stored on the device. Now I've stopped it by pressing that capture button, I can't get that back. So from a security perspective, from people in a workplace, it's really, really important. And a very nice feature. Effectively, IT don't really have to worry about the device in terms of data protection from it. The same goes with university users with the Learn DSA version. These features, they're identical in terms of the feature set. So for a user that just needs to capture some text, you pinpoint it and click and read. If I want to read a section down here, again, we've got blue text on a blue background, which other devices can struggle with. You can also turn this landscape, so I can move the rectangle this way to target an area over there.
Energy bill relief scheme. We're still working with the government to make sure eligible customers get the help they need.
I won't let it read all of it. It just reads it. It can't do handwriting. The OrCam Read 3 can, which I'll come on to later in a certain mode. But anything that's printed on a page, on a screen, as well, or in the distance. So if I just show, if I'm going to spin my camera around now, just to show that, hello, point it, I've got a sign on the wall here. So if you've got somebody who's working on site, who has to do site visits and might have to look at signage, then we can point the unit in the distance, release it.
Spider trauma unit, right arrow, stepped on Lego, right arrow, trampoline care unit, up arrow, DIY, should have known better, little finger x-ray, left arrow.
There we are, and it even recognizes the arrows on the Learn version. And so it actually sees those as a symbol and then describes it. Or you might be in a business meeting and you've got a screen that you may need a lot of text on that you might need to look at, and maybe you didn't have the lecture notes, or the business meeting notes aren't available yet on your laptop, or they could be on a paper handout, but just to show you it reading on a screen. So I can hold the unit up, point it towards the screen.
Vision aids. Some of the most common eye conditions of SI working age people: cerebral, cortical, visual impairments. Cerebral visual impairment, CVI, is the most common cause of visual impairment in children in the developed world.
I'll just stop it there. So just to give you, so, and it actually read Vision Aid in the logo in the top right. I was wondering where it was getting Vision Aid from, but it read the logo of Vision Aid in the corner. It didn't read the tiny bit of text underneath that saying restoring independence, but it got the rest of it. So it probably wouldn't work if you're on an enormous lecture theatre and you're sat right at the back. But this is just a standard television, obviously, in our meeting room, and I haven't got close to it. I'm just sat where I am now, and it does work from further back as well on there. So just to get across, it's not just for paperwork; it is for screens, mobile phone screens as well. Although, I mean, you'd probably just turn accessibility features on a phone if you needed to access that. But if it's somebody else's screen and they ask you to read something off it, or somebody else's computer screen that you need to read something off, if you go from one room to you're standing at someone's computer desk, then you can literally just use that, point it, and it will just read to you. So I'm just going to have a drink of tea before it goes too cold and my throat dries up too much. Yeah, so I mentioned about the battery. So the other thing with this is that you can obviously charge it by a power bank. So if you are away from the mains, because it's a standard 5-volt charger, any mobile phone power bank will allow you to charge it. But the 3-hour continuous use, I mean, normally, even when we show it at exhibitions, all-day exhibitions, we don't ever have to charge them because you're not reading constantly with it normally. But even then, at the end of the day, it's normally it's still got 2 bars of battery left on it. So the battery life is impressive on these, which then helps on the Read 3 as well, which we'll go on to when it uses the Wi-Fi. So the standard units just come with English on. It is possible to get different languages, but they have to be requested on there for these. And you can have, I believe, up to 3 languages simultaneously on the device. And there is a sort of a table matrix of languages that are available on our website. We will be sending out more information with links and things at the end of this to everyone. So don't feel you have to go and look on there now unless you want to. But yeah, the list of languages are on there. And then the Read 3 will have even more languages, which I'll show you shortly as well. Try to think if there's anything else to go through on it. Obviously, in terms of what jobs this might benefit, but it's just anyone really that needs to access printed material, either on a screen that obviously they may have text help read and write if they're severely dyslexic, but again, that's limiting them just to use it on the computer part. So with this, because it's so mobile and so light, you can just pop it in your pocket. They all come with very nice kind of hard cases as well, just it's still small enough to fit in a jacket pocket to take with you and have with you anytime you might need it. The other thing we always say as well is if you've got, it's worth considering mainstream solutions though. So if you do have someone who's a smartphone reader, then let them try the free apps that are available, like Lookout from Android, Seeing AI, Prismo Go, the KNFB reader app sometimes as well, potentially. They can be useful. The other thing that's important for this, though, is if you've got anybody who's doing training courses where they may have exams to sit, that this is actually fully approved for exam use. And on the app, you can go into the device and turn on exam mode, which will completely disable Bluetooth. Sorry, it leaves Bluetooth on for headphones, but it will disable Wi-Fi. So even though the Wi-Fi is only used for software updates, just to prove that there's no Wi-Fi capability on it, they have allowed or created a feature so you can completely disable that, which does mean you then need to reactivate it with another QR code, and it tells you when it's gone into exam mode as well. So just for obviously for students, it's probably more critical, but then people do have very regularly go on training courses with, sadly, still have exams to do at the end of it. So this device will stay useful for that, whereas other devices, you may have to buy a special version of the device, like the C Pen. There's an exam version of that, and smartphones obviously aren't allowed in exams. You can't use those at all. So any of those apps you wouldn't be able to use if you're having to do an exam of any sort, but obviously because of the Wi-Fi and the ability to look things up on the internet. Training on these as well, we can provide it obviously, but because they're so straightforward, I mean, it's very rare for somebody to need in-person training on this, but we do free remote training if it's required for people. But there are a great set of training videos as well that are available online. It is really as simple as turn it on. You have to pair it through the QR code capture, and then you're away with it really. You just point at something, click, and it will read it to you. The other mode, though, I've done obviously the rectangle mode where it captures everything that's within the rectangle. If I push the zoom in and sorry, the zoom in, zoom out, the faster and slower buttons together. Oh, it's gone to sleep, so I'll wake it up first. Sorry. Push the buttons together.
Hi, Ellis.
Hi, Ellis. It does a double click on this one. That now means it's in pointer mode. So if I had a particular part of text, I've got a just switch view on here. Really do with a cameraman to help me on this. Actually, so woman, I should have asked for some assistance. So before we had a rectangle, now you just have a pointer. So you can click on a particular word and release. We'll not click on, and it will then read the word that's under the cursor to you. So I can go a bit on there.
Government sponsored.
So if you've got that, sorry, it's difficult with the webcam on there. So if you've got a long word or tricky part that you need help with, you can just literally pinpoint that exact word. That feature doesn't exist on the OrCam Read Smart for low vision users. This obviously for users with still perfectly usable vision, but just difficulty in understanding the text, can use that pointer mode, and that works in the distance as well as at close up. That was the only thing other thing I didn't want to forget on it. I think I've covered everything I wanted to on there now. Yes, I'll just have a quick pause for a minute and see if there's. I don't think we have any questions at the moment. No, good. I'll carry on. Please do ask if you think of any. So that's the learn, and then we go. So and that unit is so the OrCam Learn Access to Work is £799, so significantly less than the Read Smart, and obviously the MyEye units that we have here that range from sort of 2,700 up to 3,700 if you have the version that has facial recognition on them as well, and all the other extra features like color detection. And they're fantastic tools for low vision and blind users. Obviously, the Learn Access to Work is designed for the different sector of reading challenges, hence the different feature set on it. So I will switch back again and then grab my OrCam Read. So this visually is a bit different. So this is the OrCam Read 3, sorry. Still has the Read, same logo on the side, but the way you know it's a different device is because it has yellow buttons on it. So the OrCam Read Smarts will continue to come with black buttons, but the Read 3, the new version, will have these brighter yellow buttons, which are obviously easy for a low vision user to distinguish. Still exactly the same tactile feel. I'm not going to run through the units. It's identical from that. The key difference is it's got much different software on it. So we'll run through some of the key features on there and the key differences. So I'll wake it up in the same way. I think I actually shut this one down. So you've got to push and hold. Then you get a light to tell you that it's coming on. It takes about 30 seconds to start up. But one of the first things I'm going to show that's different on this is actually it has an AI-based summary or summarization feature. So this does take the document, send it to a secure cloud server at OrCam, where the document is then recognized and the salient points are then pulled out and then sent back to you in a matter of seconds.
Is ready.
Yeah.
Battery is 95% charged.
Well, 95% charged. That should hopefully last the next 10, 15 minutes. So if I'm going to use the history textbook I've got here. Obviously, low vision users, this could be for anything. It could be education. It could be in workplace. It could be any long document that perhaps isn't the most exciting if you've got a document you don't want to sit and read all of. English Reformation, some people might love history, but I quite enjoyed it, but other people would find it the most boring thing in the world, perhaps. So being able to summarize that and just pull out the salient points from a productivity point of view can be really, really useful. So if I hold that in here, what I do on the OrCam Read 3, the same as on the OrCam Read Smart, they have smart reading features. So you can use it a bit like a smart speaker, like an OK Google or an Alexa, where you can, if you have it turned on, I have to have it turned off for this, because otherwise every time I say the word OrCam, it then waits for a voice command. My phone's just fired up now because I've said OK Google. Right. But you can also trigger the voice listening by double tapping on the trigger button, and then it beeps, and then you can give it a command. So summarize is the command you give to tell it you want to summarize a page. So if I do that now. So if I double click the trigger button, summarize.
Choose the text you want to summarize.
So if I now take a picture of this, obviously I can target roughly with this. If you're a low vision user, I should say, actually, and you don't know, if you've got no vision, I'll just pause it on there.
Please try again.
Then it just takes a bit of practice. You hold the camera around about 30 centimeters or so away from an A4 page, and that will then allow you to capture the whole thing, because you may not be able to see the laser pointers on there. There is, though, the OrCam Read stand, which I'll go into as well, which when you have it set to the correct height will then allow you to just position the page underneath it, and then you know it's going to capture exactly the right amount. So for blind users, they may find initially using the stand a lot easier, but they do get used to just holding the document, the camera a certain distance from the document. Probably takes a few days to fully get used to and get accurate with it, but it's just something you do get used to. So if I do that again, summarize.
Please choose the text you want to summarize. Summarizing text.
Just take a few seconds. It's a good chance for a sip of tea.
Henry VII's marital problems and dynastic ambitions led to the creation of an independent Church of England. He eventually persuaded the English Parliament to pass the 1534 Act of Supremacy, which made the King of England rather than the Pope the head of the English Church. Edward was succeeded by his eldest half-sister Mary, who returned England to the Roman Catholic fold. Throughout the 16th century, government-sponsored
Now got over to this bit already.
Faith among English subjects, but several branches of Reformed Protestants proved popular to the masses.
That's it. So it's condensed all of that into those few sentences there and picked out what it feels from its AI model as the salient points. It does work well. So you can't really give it a sort of a contract or an invoice type document, because anything in there is going to be very important information potentially. But anything long passages of text that you may need to read, training information, things like that in a workplace, or you probably wouldn't want to do your boss's long emails. There might be a lot of points on there that they may not want you to miss. But being able to do that and quickly then figure out the main points, we think is it is quite an exciting feature for a low vision user. It's exciting for anyone really, but just for a low vision user to be able to pinpoint certain parts, because obviously they can't skim read things, or blind users, and being able to do that gives them the main points of something. Then you might think, well, that is actually really of interest and I need to know more of it. So then you can just capture it normally and sit and listen to the whole section if you need to. So that's the first new feature, summarization. Then the other really interesting one on here is built-in magnifier with then extra features that you get along with that. So for that part, I'm going to put it into the stand that comes with the Read 3. So the stand is a very lightweight aluminium sort of construction tube, which you can adjust the height of. I won't do that because I've set the height up, I think, to be correct for this. And then the OrCam Read 3 just slots into the stand, and the buttons are facing towards you once it's slotted in. There is then a way you can put it into stand mode, because then you get some extra features as well. I've got it set on this one to go into stand mode when I plug the charger in, which is just quicker and easier from here, although my USB cable has disappeared on here. What have we done with it? Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to plug it in on the side up here. So when I plug this in, which will power it.
Charger connected. Battery is 93% charged. Starting stand mode.
Hopefully you can hear that on there. But if Laura or Daniel, if you can let me know, was that coming across okay? Can increase the volume.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was great.
Volume up.
I'll put up a little bit.
Volume up.
So it's in stand mode now. What stand mode allows you to do, if I go to this bill on here again, you can actually now point with gestures at the area of text that you want it to start reading to you from. So if you've got enough vision to sort of roughly see where you may want to read, I'll just zoom in a little bit on here so you can get a bit more idea. Hopefully I can. Just pan my camera down onto here. Sorry, it will pixelate a little bit. I can't get any closer because of the tables in the way. So if I just point on here, it makes a beep, then I release, take my finger away, takes a picture.
Site address, British College, Spalding Common, Spalding, PE11 3AU.
And I can pause it just by putting my hand underneath as a stop sign, which actually stops the document, and then you can recapture something else. So then if I wanted to go to a bit of text over here, I can just put my finger on there. And that's the blue text on a blue background.
So, on applying any
there we are. I'll just stop it. So straight away, that can be a really good time saver. Other text-to-speech solutions, you may have to capture the whole document and then sit and listen to it from start to finish, or then skip forwards, which is what you do if you capture the whole page on this. But if you've got enough usable vision to be able to roughly see where the area of interest is that you need to read, and you know it's in that area, you can just push, you can just point at it. So that's the first new feature on there. It's a little bit like the My Eye version, where obviously on that version you can point when it's on your glasses as well. So a nice new feature there. I'll just reset my camera back before I forget on there. What I'll do next is just share my screen. I'll just point on here on the screen, my second screen on here first of all. We're going to show the magnifier feature next, which is accessed through a browser. So you have to go to cast.orcam.com. The instructions tell you that, and when you go on the website, it informs you that as well, the OrCam website. But I've just set it up as a shortcut from my desktop, or you can add it as a bookmark. I've bookmarked it as well. I double click on that, and then of course it's jumped to the wrong screen. Bear with me 1 second, just drag it over. Once you've paired the device, which you have to do by capturing a QR code again, so for this to work, your OrCam Read 3 has to be on the same wireless network that your computer is. The computer I'm using here for the webinar is connected via a wire, but it can see other devices that are on the wireless network. It's all part of the same network. So as long as that's the case, then the OrCam Read 3 will be able to communicate with the computer device. So, but it could be a tablet, a Chromebook, a MacBook. It doesn't matter what the device is, because this is just running on Chrome browser, but it will work on any browser. So that's really nice. There's no software to install. You just have to have it on the same Wi-Fi network, pair it once, and then when you come back, it says welcome back, and then you can just click on the connect to device. It'll take a few seconds, and then it should start sending a video feed from here. Yeah, so it tells you if you want to come out of that mode, then you just press any button and it will exit for you. So with this, it's now actually magnet. Oh, sorry, I'll start sharing the screen now. Well, so hopefully you can now see the OrCam view. It's got a very straightforward interface, which is all accessible. So you can tab with the keyboard, just to make sure it's highlighted on there. So we can tab into it. I can rotate the image from the icon on here, because obviously I've put this 90 degrees around. So I can rotate that's the same, or I can put it so it's the correct way up on there. And then we can zoom in. And you'll see it pixelates a little bit. And then if you leave it a second or so, it then clears the image up. It's not the same quality as a proper video magnifier. I'll start by saying that right away. And the key thing is you can't use it to handwrite underneath. If you've got any form filling that needs to be done, or even signing something, if I now put my hand under the camera on here, there's a big delay of about 2 seconds or so before my hand appears. I then take it away, it's still on the screen. That's maybe 2-3 seconds. So it's not really designed for that part. But if you just need to look at a document, I'm just panning around this with my mouse. So you can click and drag and move around the document and zoom in further, just to give you an idea of the quality on it. I go to some of the small text at the top. Where's it gone on there? I've zoomed in too much. So that's some of the smallest text on there, which is, it really is small on there. It's starting to pixelate a little bit, but it's still quite clear, and that would be really difficult. Even people with even at my age now, I'd have to take my glasses off to be able to see text that small, I think. It does have a color mode on there as well. So you've got the color enhancements. Unfortunately, at the moment, if I push this T button down here, you'll see they're not really working very well. But the nice thing with this is because it's all done in browser, there's no updates that are needing on the device. When new features or changes happen, this will actually happen. It will just happen automatically. So this is a very basic implementation of a 2-color mode at the moment, which sadly, even though we've got really good lighting in the room here, as you can see as I go through the different color combinations, it's not as good as just using full color at the moment in terms of a contrast part. So it's a nice basic magnifier kind of feature. The other thing you can do, because it's Wi-Fi, it doesn't have to be in stand mode on here. You can use this to then, and the frame rate gets faster when you go back to 1x magnification. I actually tried it and walked all the way around our offices yesterday, and it's live streams the video back to your, as long as the Wi-Fi signal is still there. So if there's any presenting reasons why you may need to sort of have a camera that's not tethered to anything without having to carry a laptop around, I thought it's quite a novel use for it. Because I haven't seen a webcam that's fully Wi-Fi enabled, so you can use it on that in that way too. If we go, the more interesting part with this though comes when you actually take a picture with it. So we can just grab a picture with the big picture icon down here, but what I want to do is take a bit of handwritten text. So these are just some notes. My handwriting is not particularly good at all, unfortunately, so I've done some here. I can now take a picture on this, and it's frozen it, which I can then zoom in on, pan around, and you can change the colors, but this is a captured image which you can now save. But I want to show you the reading. I'm just wary of the time on here. So if I press the recognition button, this will then send that image to OrCam servers, where it then recognizes all the text, and then it will send it back in a recognized way that then can then be spoken out loud. So I can zoom in on this text on here. So try not to go over the 50-minute mark. I've got 10 minutes left and I've got the Clover Book XL, so I'll need to hurry up. Record the webinar. I've done that. Try to relax. Well, I don't know, but maybe at the end I'll relax on there. Hopefully I'm not coming across too stressed and my hands aren't too shaky. So it's done that, and we obviously can then have that read out loud by pressing the play button.
These are my notes for our OrCam and Clover Book webinar. 1. Try not to go over the 50-minute presentation time.
I'll just pause it there. So it's with handwritten notes. It's very impressive. I think it's got my OrCam instead of OrCam. So my N and M, yeah, my M is not the clearest on there, but it's done a good job on that. At the moment, you can only use that when it's connected to a device via Wi-Fi on the browser. We are really hopeful and pretty confident that OrCam are going to add that functionality, just so when you're walking around with the OrCam, as long as it's paired via Wi-Fi to a device, to your mobile phone, to something else, that when you capture it, it will read handwriting. So obviously from a business perspective, being able to read handwritten notes, post-it notes that somebody might leave, if you get given a birthday card at work, or just any handwritten note, it's actually really nice for somebody to be able to do that. I can see we've got a question on there from Gary. Have you tried this with left-handed users? I am left-handed, Gary. So it doesn't really matter in terms of the handwriting on there, because I wrote that with my left hand. So I think that won't make any difference from there. More cursive handwriters. So yeah, if you've got very difficult handwriting, you're signifying left-handed users of really bad handwriting, maybe carry on. Then I don't know. We have to try it. We've done it with some of the girls in the office. Their handwriting's not bad. Sorry, Gary said he never meant that. No, it's fine. But the other nice thing with this, because it's using the latest technology and it's all done on servers, the handwriting recognition, even the last 2 years, has come on leaps and bounds. So when the models get updated, they're all AI trained models, neural network based learning systems. They just get better and better over time as more and more training data is put into them. So it's pretty impressive now as it is, and it's only going to get better. You probably wouldn't be able to say that for a doctor. And Rhiannwyn's message on there, doctors' handwriting traditionally is always used as the worst, simply because I think they have to write so much and so quickly. I think it would probably struggle with that, although I'm sure you'd be able to get a good portion of the meaning from it. But if you were needing to rely on it for medication, then that's something that you wouldn't want to to rely on, unfortunately, from that. Sure, things happen even with other people's handwriting where things need to be checked anyway. The thing with this is it won't tell you whether it's unsure of something. It will just give you a figure and it will say it. If you're actually looking at writing that you're unsure of, you'd be able to say, well, maybe that I need to check that. I'm not sure if it's a 1 or a 7 sort of thing. Okay, so that's the handwriting part. The other thing, just to mention quickly on this, is the languages. The number of languages that are supported on this, even the English voices, there's now a whole new set of voices that I've never heard on anything else. I think they are the latest serents or nuanced voices. They've even got female voices that sound like sort of childlike voices, so for younger users, but they don't sound, I won't say it nicely, but the old child voices that we had all sounded really nasally and quite irritating. I think Maisie, if I remember correctly,
this is a sample text.
That one actually has some sort of real feeling to it. So it's nice that this, and these are all the UK accent voices. You've then got Australian, Indian accent, just Irish accent, Hong Kong English accent. So there's a huge number of voices. If I go on here for the language list, it's vast. We haven't actually got the complete list from OrCam yet, and I didn't have time yesterday to go through this list and put it onto a list, but we will have one when we send all the information out. And the nice thing with this is all these languages work with the Read 3 when you're connected to the Wi-Fi connection. So it doesn't matter about the device, the languages that are loaded onto your device, which you get 3. The standard languages are English, French, and German. You can customize those. When you have the magnifier part within the text-to-speech, all of these voices are then enabled. So you can then capture something and read it in any of these languages. The other new feature that's coming, if I just stop sharing on there and switch back to me, is translation. So there will be an online translation feature for 10 different languages. So the most common kind of European languages that allow you to translate between, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection on the device. So that's quite an exciting thing for users as well. Obviously, depending on their job, whether they need to do it, maybe more useful potentially for someone at home. There will be certain job use cases where it's handy. But if you go on holiday somewhere, the work case is if you go on a business trip to another country and you need a quick and easy way to translate something back into your language that you understand, then you'll be able to do that from there as well, as long as you have the OrCam paired to your smartphone and you've got mobile data enabled, so it can use that as the hotspot for it, because it is a Wi-Fi only feature currently. Just check my notes quickly. I've only left myself 5 minutes for the XL. Hopefully some of you might be able to stay a little bit longer. I'll just won't save that and come out. Obviously, you can change colors and sizes of on the app as well. It is nicely accessible on there. For their first release on it, it's very impressive. The OrCam Read 3 is actually going to be available to ship for another week or 2 at least at the moment, but it's almost very close to being here. Come out from that, and it'll come out of that mode.
It's disconnected. Now, charger disconnected.
Okay,
Battery is
so
100% charged.
what I'll do, I'll just see if there's a question on there.
Mode.
So Rianwen said, have you had any experience of how organizations respond to the notion of information going to an external browser for handwriting recognition, etc.? Just wondering about GDPR, etc. Thanks. That's a really good and very important question. We've had it with other apps that obviously do things online, and even smartphone apps do that. They send the data off to then be recognized by a third-party server. So OrCam have created a privacy statement, which we can then send if it needs to go to IT for it to be checked over, for the legalities of it, for how the information is processed and held. But they don't really hold it. It's just literally processed and sent back, and it's anonymous. But obviously you need to have that in writing to make sure that is the case. So they do have that available. So if something's purchased through Access to Work, and it's obviously an organization where GDPR is important if it's dealing with customer information, which most organizations are, if that member of staff has access to that, then you may also want to request that. But we'll try and put a link to that as well, and create effectively a pack where we have that together with a justification guide as well for the sort of key job roles where it might be useful, and different conditions for both the Learn Access to Work and the Read 3 as well. We've got one for the DSA version. It will just need changing slightly for the Access to Work one, and then the Read 3 with the extra features it has will need some other features as well. It's a really good question, Ramon. Thank you. Right, I'm going to have to hurry up. All right, let's out of the way. going to grab well, yeah, I'll just move the camera around on here. So we're going to go to the Clover Book XL now, which is a new 15.6 inch transportable magnifier. So I switch back here, have it in its case just there. Over there, we've got the Clover Book Lite Plus or Pro. That's the standard Clover Book with a 12.5 inch screen. So if I just stand up and move around here, hopefully I won't lose you on there. Just take this one out quickly. It has a really nice hard case. The unit just pulls out. It's got a nice handle on it. This unit weighs a bit more because it's a bigger screen, obviously a bigger stand, and it's actually a double pivoting screen as well, which is even better ergonomically. Just move the case out the way. So this one weighs 4.8 kilos versus 2.4, so it is twice the weight, but it's still one of the lightest units with a big screen on it, and it's really quick to set up. We simply just unfold it like that, and then there's a nice big chunky on-off button on the side here. Push and hold that, and it will start up. You've got the controls, which are exactly the same as they are on the Clover Book range. So anyone's familiar with that, they are literally completely identical. The buttons are the same, the size is the same, even the controls down the side of the unit, the volume, the lines and blind markers are identical as well. So most of you will know what a video magnifier does, so I'm not going to go through all of the features on there, but very quickly, I just raise this up a little bit. I'll bring it in. The nice thing on this unit is that you can easily get a full this is the entire width of an A4 page. So if you've got a user maybe with a tunnel vision condition that doesn't need much magnification, that might just need some contrast enhancement, then the low magnification that this provides with the clarity that it gives is fantastic for that. But then we can just zoom in using the dial. And then we have a joystick on the Clover Book range. So those unfamiliar with it, you can just move around the page without having to physically move the page. Because this can see the full width, we can double tap left actually, and it takes us back to the left margin. You can pan around without having to slide the page around, which some people like. There are 3 versions of this. The features I'm showing at the moment are the Clover Book XL Lite. So this unit then allows, it has this set of functionality, and the other thing which is really nice on this unit is the pivoting screen. So from an ergonomics point of view, you can adjust the screen to exactly the height that you want and then tilt it as well to give it a really nice viewing angle, just like you could on a monitor arm effectively, rather than the screen being set back or angled down as it is on other units like that. So very nicely thought out way of adjusting the screen on there. There are line markers on here as well, and the blind markers, but I'm just going to show one thing on there because these are all standard, except for the fact that when you have a blind marker on here, when you adjust the zoom, so I can just adjust the size of this quickly, narrow it down a bit. As I adjust the zoom on this, it also very cleverly adjusts the thickness of the blind. It's just a really nice feature that SightCare, the manufacturer, thought of. No other product does this. So as you adjust the size, you don't have to adjust the width of either the line or the blind on there. That's the only sort of exciting different bit on those. We can turn those off. So the light version is effectively just that, a really good quality magnifier. You can handwrite underneath it, 60 frames per second. You don't get any sort of ghosting around your hand. It stays clear on there if you want to write with it. You can, if you're left or right-handed, and if you write over the top, you can go in and turn the left or the right LEDs off. So if you're left-handed and you write over the top, you could turn the left LEDs off to stop any chance of your hand casting a shadow when you're writing on it. Right-handed users, you can do the opposite if you need to, but obviously if you're not writing over the top, it's not ever an issue. I'll put the other light back on. That's really well thought out as well from them. There isn't really much more. You can freeze the image, you can lock the focus as well, and the level of magnification you get is enormous on here. It's my mother's name on there. So you can get very, very large. This is tiny text down on the document on here. Obviously, if you've got a user that's needing this kind of magnification, a magnifying product probably isn't going to be the right sort of solution for them. They'll be more relying on text-to-speech type things, obviously depending on their job. But the chances are they will be looking more at a text-to-speech device. That's that bit. That's the light. So that unit is £1,799. Sorry, £1,795. Then we go up to the Plus, and that adds a touch screen. So you can use it like a giant iPad to move around. You can also then use it for distance viewing, because around the side on the Plus version is a distance camera. So this lifts up. Then you get a very neat, discrete sort of periscope camera, which if I then jump back here, around the side on here, I can then switch to
Distance view.
just by pushing this dedicated switch button on here. And then if I target something with this, I'll just zoom out of it. It's probably zoomed in too much. Just looking at the fireplace there. We bring it up. We've got the sign on the wall that we had. It'll just take a second to refocus. There we go. The nice thing with this is that the camera is always seeing, because it's a very high resolution digital camera, it's seeing the whole area all of the time. So you can just, I don't have to touch the camera. I can zoom in and move around it without having to physically grab hold of the camera head, which is really useful if you're in a meeting with it pointing at the projector screen, because it's just much quicker doing that than it is grabbing the camera and moving it sort of shakily and trying to find exactly where you are on there. So I can zoom in a bit more on there. You can get an idea of the quality. It is very good, although because there's no optical zoom on it, the one thing I would say is that you wouldn't be able to sit right at the back of a big meeting room and then zoom in and see perfectly clearly. You'd have to sit probably more towards the middle or the front, just because it doesn't have a big optical zoom. We've got some other solutions coming in our upcoming webinars that's got big optical zoom on them. We'll let you see even further, but for most use cases, this will be absolutely fine. You can still color enhance this as well. And it even does a good job on the white text on the blue background on there as well. But you do have contrast adjustment with these as well. So you can finely tune the background and foreground. So if you've got something that's very faint, or perhaps you've got a funny color, you can actually see on that, the S on there wasn't bolded when we printed that out. It actually stands out on here even more than the normal color mode. The other great thing it's got is the overview mode though. So instead of having to pinch to zoom all the way out and then find something and zoom back in again, I can be zoomed in, simply tap the zoom button. It will then quickly zoom all the way out, give me a target site, which I can then move around by dragging on the screen. And then I could zoom back in again. So if I've got a camera head of a device here, the new Coast that's coming, and it zooms instantly back in to that device. So again, a really useful feature for quickly moving from one place to another without having to zoom all the way out, find where you want and zoom back in again. So really put a lot of thought into that. That's the same on the smaller Clover Book units as well. It was the first one to have it. So that's the extra feature, the touchscreen and the distance camera. Then when you go up to the Pro version, it adds the ability to connect a second screen. So I have here another 15.6-inch screen, which just unfolds and then it slots in around the back of the unit. Quite a straightforward manner. And then there's just a single cable. It's an HDMI short lead that they provide with it. And that plugs in to the one HDMI connection on the screen there. And then there's an HDMI out connection on here. So with the Pro version, it will allow you to connect any screen to the device. Obviously, if you've got the twin screen, you can now do some extra things with this. So using that same button on the side, I can split the screen. So I can have the screen in the front of me is for close up, looking at a handout or a document. And then the second screen can purely be for the distance camera. So you don't have to split across the screen, which you can do. So if you don't have the extra screen plugged in, I would have shown it, we're running out of time on there. You can actually put the top half of the screen as the distance camera and the bottom half as the close-up camera. But then you're obviously limiting how much you can fit on there. Whereas where you've got the second screen, you've got a full-size screen for distance and a full one for close-up. Switch again. And that's just switch them round depending on what you want to do. Some people might prefer to have the distance camera at the front. Both of them near view or both of them far view. So that, again, if you've got a separate screen to one side and somebody else needs to see what you're seeing as well, that's what that purpose of it duplicating the screen is. Split screen. So I'll put it back to split screen. The other thing I found, which wasn't on the Clover Book, I only found it last night because we literally only just received the screen last week. On here, the button's not there. What's the text mode button?
Activate distance view.
Oh, that just switches between it. There was a very
split screen
ingenious feature which allowed you to use it as a second. I wonder if it's going to do it now. Maybe I have to be. Aha, yes. So if you duplicate the screens, when you press the home button, we now get this button here. So we now get a unique mode which I've never seen before or anything. I didn't even know it did this because this isn't released for another month or so. You've got a zoomed out overview mode on the bottom screen and a zoomed in view on the top screen. So you can see the whole width of the A4 page on the bottom screen, and then you can adjust the size on the top screen, and that rectangle then signifies the area. You can even drag it around. So if you position that so it's in the middle, you don't have to slide the page around. You can literally then be looking at the top screen and just use your finger to read across the document, which for people that get sort of nauseous or seasickness or fed up with sliding a page left and right to do that, you can just place the document. You'll see the top half of the page on there, and then when you move down to the bottom half, you have to reposition it once to then be able to move around and see the rest of it. So you would have to move the page twice, possibly 3 times if you've got text right at the top and at the bottom, but still a lot easier than sliding the whole thing around on there. So I'm pleased I found that late last night when I was practicing with it. Then there's also
Screen extend.
Screen extend. So this is like Windows magnifier when you've got two monitors. At minimum zoom level, nothing will be on the second screen, but as I zoom this up, it brings, so if I put the screen down on here and then get it into some text, it may be better actually for just to signify it with a document with just more text on there. So it's actually crossing the screen border, and this is like one huge giant screen. So this would be really useful for documents where you've got columns of information. Actually, that's what I should show on this camera, on this document on here, because then you get one giant long sort of screen and you can fit the whole column. And that's the whole section on there in one go, again, without having to move the screen around. So another really novel use of a second screen on there that isn't on the Clover Book unit, the Pro at the moment. I'm sure they will add that on the smaller Clover Book as well, because it's just a software update, but they haven't even told us it was in there. So I'm pleased we found it. Then you can just put it back. Screen copy, which is with the default one on there. One other quick thing I want to show you the magnifier. It's also got HDMI input. I'm sorry about the time. If anyone obviously needs to go, please do, and we'll send the recording on. The other thing this can do is if you've got a smartphone or a tablet device, or indeed a laptop or anything that has an HDMI connection. I've got a Samsung phone which supports screen sharing via USB-C. So if you have a USB-C hub to a HDMI cable, we'll just plug this in on here. And then there's an HDMI socket on the side for input.
External input connected.
And then if I switch the input, there we are, there's my phone screen. So I can now use this to display my phone screen. So I've got a reflect on there. The other thing to mention is these are matte screens. We've got big fluorescent tubes above us on there. And if this wasn't a matte screen, that glare we're seeing there would just be a complete line. You wouldn't be able to see anything on it. So it does help filter out enormously, but still not completely immune to the glare on there. You can see it a little bit on the top one as well on there. Adjust the angle of that though. So this is duplicating at the moment. If I just
split screen.
So I've got a shopping list on there. Good old Google, Head and Shoulders shampoo goes Head and Shoulders shampoo rather than it being one device, one thing on there. But what this has done is put my mobile phone screen on the top section, which I can now activate by double tapping here, and I can zoom in on that section. So this is now it digitally zooming in on my phone screen, and I can pan around it using the bottom touchscreen. So it's a really novel feature. And I can enhance the colors. So I can set that to my preferred color combination because white on green might not be very accessible on there, and still set it. And the quality is fantastic on it. The image smoothing on there works really well in the 2-color mode, and we can still adjust the threshold of that as well to make the text thinner or thicker on there. So they put a lot of thought into this as well. This is no other product has this kind of capability on it, as far as I'm aware. Actually, there may be no. I don't think there is at the moment. So you could then, because this is live view on the bottom screen, you can put the phone under the magnifier and you can see it to operate it. So I'll put that back into color on the bottom screen.
Activate the view.
Put it back to color. So this is the bottom screen is magnifying my phone screen in real time, so I can see my finger and operate it. If I go, I can zoom that out a little bit on there. If I just go to, for example, to Google Photos to show the quality on a picture quickly, and that'll be the last thing I do on this bit. So for I missed dinner last night, and for some reason, something really tickled my son and daughter at dinner. So I can just move on there.
Activate distance view.
So I can now pan around that bit on there. That's my son Ben laughing his head off. Probably his sister had something to do with it. But it's really good for accessing a device that if you need to as well. I know the built-in accessibility features are great, but going from a 6-inch screen up to a 15.6 inch and being able to see how you're controlling it via the camera and then seeing it on a big screen at the same time, I think is for certain applications could be really useful too. So that's a nice novel thing they've added. I'll just unplug that now.
External input disconnected.
The final thing on this I want to mention was the OCR. So this unit will actually do A3 OCR. It's for a standalone video magnifier. It's the only one in the world that will do A3. So I can push and hold the T button. Just move back, sorry, on that.
A3 full page mode.
A3 full page mode. You can set it to A4. I might have to raise up just a little bit for it to fully fit everything in there. Actually, it's done it even, quite easily. And now we can just push the T button on here for text to speech.
Full page text to speech.
It will capture this, reformat it. It takes a few seconds. I will say the OCR on this is not as good as other systems. So sadly, it's not as accurate as something like an OrCam Read, or if you've got a business user relying on OCR, something like a Read It product. But for a standalone unit where a user might need a bit of text to speech to help them if their eyes get tired, it's not too bad. So you can click on a zone of text. So bring the screen back up on here. Highlight the zone that we may want to read. We can zoom in on this and pan around. I'll just start it reading.
Martin Luther's wife, Katharina von Bora. Martin Luther's wife, Katharina von Bora, is believed to have been born in 1499 in the German village.
Just pause it. So we can zoom right in on that, obviously, and we can pan around. It's captured the document. You can save these documents. You can do multiple page documents. It's got USB stick document import and export as well for users that need that capability. I'll just quickly show you the reformatted modes on here though as well. So you can turn segmentation off, so it's the P mode on here. So we can reformat this into a column. Just move that a little bit closer on there and angle the screen down, so hopefully it's a bit more visible. Where you can then change the colors of this, obviously adjust the size, and then you can have it read out loud to you as well. It does have a headphone port. It doesn't have Bluetooth, but it's got a standard 3.5 millimeter headphone jack as well if you need to listen privately to it. So for basic OCR, it's quite a nice functionality, quite simple to use, with all the color modes and the reformatted view as well to easily scroll around the text if you just want to read it as well. Some users actually find it a lot easier just scrolling the text because it's reformatted it and it's the correct order. Again, there's no left and right panning that you need to do. You can just read it with your eyes, even at much higher magnifications, and there's no risk of losing your place on it either. The Pro one is a little bit more expensive. It's £2,745. And then if you want the additional second screen, it's £395 on it as well. It does include a carry case though. And the other really great thing about the Clover Book units is that the battery is user replaceable. So if I just disconnect this. Like a laptop battery from 10 years ago, they were all serviceable yourself. So if I hold the screen down on here, hopefully you can see. In here, there's a grey button. You push that, and this whole battery unit just pops out. And it means, obviously, when this wears out in 4, 5, 6 years, depending on how much it's used, it can just be swapped instantly by the customer themselves. The end user doesn't have to come back to us or any other company to be serviced. And it means also, if you need to have more than sort of 4 hours use, he dropped it then, 4 hours use in one go away from the mains, you can actually buy a separate battery and charger for £195, and then you get another one of those and a separate charger to be charging the one battery in while you're using the other one, and it will charge it as quickly or slightly quicker actually. Then you can flatten the battery so you can then get continuous use from it, mains free if you need to. So very well thought out again from them. I think that's it. I do just realize I don't think I mentioned the price on the OrCam Read 3 either, which is on a special offer price at the moment. And that unit is 2,109. I can't remember now because they've changed it recently. I will check our website. It's good for that. £2,289 for the OrCam Read 3. It is a special launch offer. It's going to go up to just under 2,500 shortly. But I think that is. So that was the Clover Book XL and the Lite Plus and Pro version. Don't worry, we do have a really handy document where that shows all the differences between those, so you don't have to remember all of those. And I switched my camera back. There we are. Are there any other questions, or have I missed anything? Laura or Daniel, can you think of anything I should have mentioned that I didn't?
Can't think of anything off the top of my head. Sorry, I just realised I was talking there and I was muted.
Yes, I'm pleased you're still awake. That's good. Thank you, everyone, for sticking a bit longer.
I can't think of anything. Really, I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly. That I didn't know that about the Clover Book XL actually, with the extra feature on the double screen. That was actually really good. I never knew that. I could do that.
It is handy if you've got somebody who's attending meetings, then, or obviously if it's for education based, the second screen is really useful for that. It just makes the distance work so much easier. What I'll say as well, I've got some products behind me there. That there's the new Coast, which is a very discreet, small little camera for distance viewing for people in meetings. Again, obviously for education, for using all the time in the classroom environment. The new Helix HD Pro, which is a really good quality, neat, compact, small desktop video magnifier for people to use in an office next to their computer screen, which doesn't look like a big sort of bulky video magnifier. The latest software on the Zen and Zen Max we've got as well, which is really powerful text-to-speech OCR, document reformatting, importing, exporting, and a whole load of other things. The dot pad as well, which this is the most expensive, I don't want to drop this now, the most expensive product we've ever had. So from an education point of view, this has got 2,400 braille pins on it. So it allows users to make tactile diagrams just instantly from their Apple device or from a browser on another one. So instead of having to print documents out on swirl paper and then access them that way, you can just change the diagram instantly as you go. That unit's just under £12,000 though, so it's going to be select use cases for it. But for blind users in education, it could be it is an exciting product. If not a little bit eye-wateringly expensive, but the feature set is very good. So we've got those and another device as well that we'll be showing in our upcoming webinar in the next sort of month or so. So please keep an eye out for that. I think we might have the date confirmed for that, but my colleague Laura will let us know if we do. But if not, we'll send another message out for that. So that'll be business and education focused ones again on there. If anybody does have any other products that they're interested in seeing, also there's another one called the Magnibot as well. That's a really good motorized distance viewing camera for students and business users, which works on Wi-Fi, and you can put that anywhere in the room. And as long as it's connected on Wi-Fi, it will transmit the video signal back to the user's laptop, again, just via a browser, actually, like the OrCam Read 3 does. So quite exciting new features, sort of never before seen in products coming from those. So I'm looking forward to that one. Might hopefully be able to prepare a little bit more than did for this one with that many new products in it. If anyone else has any questions, have we missed any on there? I don't think so. Other than that, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Most people are still here. I don't think there's any more questions. Oh, Tuesday, the 19th of September, it is. So about a month's time for the next one with those other solutions. Thanks, Laura. And yes, if anyone wants an assessor pack, or please obviously use us as a resource base. We've got people available from phone and email to answer any questions if you're unsure of anything, or if you think a person you're assessing might want a remote demonstration. We don't do there's no charge for that at all. They can just try it and see if it works. And we even do in-person ones if there is time. I know you're very strict, very limited time allowances for assessments to be brought in, but please ask if you feel you need it, and we can try and fit it in. More than happy to do that. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, see you again on the next one, hopefully, and have a very nice rest of your Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers, Daniel. Thanks, Laura. Bye, everyone.